Welcome everyone to another At Home with APH webinar. Today is JAWS with Google Chrome. Welcome, welcome. And I am going to turn it over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Leanne, and welcome everyone. I was watching the chat and I saw a number of familiar names. Shout out to Sherry Lyon out there in Texas. Thanks to Vispero for being with us today, as well as all of you, and for any of you who may have served in the armed forces at one particular point in time in your life. As we're kicking off this Memorial Day weekend, I think everybody at APH would like to say thank you for your service. For today, the outline looks as like follows. We're going to jump into objectives and then transition into Elizabeth going through JAWS with Chrome. She's going to use a combination of both demonstrating and videos throughout the next 60 minutes. And as we get started, one of the things that we want to remind you is that we're here to share information. The way in which we've set this up is that we don't expect that you will be following along with us. When we wrap up today and at various points in time throughout the day, we'll put information into the chat and then forward out resources for you to take away. And if I'm not mistaken, leading up to this, we sent out some handouts that we think you'll find helpful. So thanks again to Vispero for being with us. And thanks to all of you for joining us as you guys get ready to start this Memorial Day weekend. While we will wrap up, Mike Wood was a late last minute no-show. He will not be with us, but we will talk a little bit about a few announcements from Vispero as we wrap up. This is Elizabeth Whitaker joining us from Vispero. She is a technical writer and she's coming to us from the Columbus, Ohio area. So she is a fellow Ohioan. Welcome, Elizabeth. Our objectives today are as follows. We hope that you're going to identify at least 5 web page elements, their importance, and how to navigate them using JAWS. We're going to hope that you're going to identify 2 keystrokes for accessing Google Chrome settings. We hope that you're going to be able to identify at least 5 helpful keyboard commands for Google Chrome and JAWS. And lastly, we hope that you're going to be able to identify 2 keystrokes that are needed to access Google Chrome browsing history and bookmarks. So there's quite a bit in there. And so as we move through this, we hope that you'll be actively following along and looking for some of these objectives that we'll share with you throughout, again, these next 60 minutes. All right, and with that, Elizabeth, welcome for Columbus. You're going to take us through our tasks for today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jim, and thanks to APH for having me. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Like Jim said, I'm a technical writer and I'm with the user education and training team with Vispero. We create a lot of content. We create training content. We host monthly webinars, videos, and blog posts. And this content provides instruction on our software as well as using it with other applications such as Chrome. So the tasks that we will cover today will be an overview of using Chrome with JAWS, some web page elements. I'll define what those are and tell you a little bit about them. And then I'll show you how to navigate web pages using keyboard commands with JAWS, creating and using bookmarks, accessing, viewing, and searching browsing history, accessing the Chrome toolbar, and settings, and then finally using Surf's Up, which is our training tool on navigating the web. So let's start now with an overview of using Chrome with JAWS. Now, as you know, Chrome is a widely used browser that is used in work, school, at home. You can choose to sign in to Chrome using your Google account credentials. So if you have a Google account and you want to sign in, you'll have the option there of synchronizing your information across all devices. It'll allow you to gain access to bookmarks, to your history, to saved passwords, extensions, settings, and more. Now, if you choose not to sign in, you will not have access to these features, but you'll still be able to browse. So now let's move on to web page elements. What is a web page element and why is it important? Web page, or HTML elements as they are also called, give web pages structure. Now, these elements are used to present information in various ways on a website or web page. You can interact with them using keyboard commands and what we call navigation quick keys. I'll demonstrate some of those for you. Web elements include links, tables, paragraphs, form controls such as radio buttons, edit fields, checkboxes, buttons, and so forth, numbered and bulleted lists, regions, images. So pretty much anything you'll find on a web page that you can interact with is an element. Now, elements are important to know because as a JAWS user, when you're using keyboard commands, you really need to understand what they do. So when you press a certain keyboard command, and I'll get to these in just a second, it's important to know what that keyboard command does, what type of information that you are receiving or that your students are receiving. So just to have a basic understanding of what elements are will really help students understand what the keyboard commands are for. Now, JAWS also provides commands that are called navigation quick keys, and these are used to quickly move through various elements on a web page. So for example, you can press a single letter on your keyboard to move to an item. For instance, you can press T for tables, you can press the letter F to move through form controls, H for headings, and so forth, and I will be demonstrating these as well. And if you add Shift to any of these navigation quick keys, you will move to the previous element. So if you're pressing H to move through headings, you're moving forward through the headings on a page. If you add Shift to that and press Shift H, you'll move back to the previous heading. So now for navigating web pages. I'm going to go ahead and just talk about a couple of things here, then I'm going to share my screen. You can list all of the elements on a web page using a keyboard command. You can also move to elements using the navigation quick keys, as I just said. So now I'm going to take over the screen share here, and
There you go.
all
I have
right.
hit stop share.
Oh, here we go.
Stop share.
All right.
Starts Jim's Cafe at Innisport dash Google Chrome.
Do we have
Yes,
Meeting
we do.
starts Zoom.
Okay, sorry.
Jim's Cafe. PC cursor. PC cursor. Jim's Cafe PC cursor. Use word below to read. Jim's.
Okay, sorry about that. JAWS was not reading what I thought it should be. So, all right. So now that I'm sharing
Alert
the
from
audio, you'll
Tiffany
be able
Jason to all.
to hear that as well. Now I'm going to demonstrate web page elements and web page navigation on our Surfs Up training tool. And I'll talk more about this later on in the webinar and how you can get to that to work with your students. I've opened the sample page on
Alert from
Surfs
Leanne
Up.
Brill to Ev.
It's called Jim's Cafe, and we have a few practice pages here that are designed for exactly that. They're designed for people to be able to practice filling out forms, navigating, and so forth. So I'm going to start by pressing Insert F3 to open a list of all the HTML elements on the current page.
Virtual HTML features dialog. List 1, list view. Alert. Carl.
Now, I also want to point out that anything that is insert, anything that uses insert is a JAWS command. So that is also called the JAWS key. When you press Insert F3, this brings up a list of elements. So now they're kind of listed in categories. We can down arrow through this list.
Articles list. Block quotes list. Buttons list.
So if I were to press enter on any of these, it would bring up a list of those particular elements. I can also press the first letter. If I know what type of element I want to find, I can press the first letter, which I'll do now. I'll press L for link.
L, links list.
And I can enter to go directly to that list of links.
Enter. Links list dialog. Links list view. Reputation for quality service. 1 of 13.
And as you notice, JAWS did tell me that it's 1 of 13, so that tells me that I'm on the first item in this list of 13 items. So I could down arrow through this list, and if I wanted to jump directly to a particular link, I could press enter. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and press escape to exit the list.
Escape.
Now, something I like to do when I go to a web page is move directly to the top of the page. That way I can explore the page, especially if I've never been there before. I can explore the page and I can interact and I know where I am on the page. So you can press Control Home.
Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
And it reads the title of the page. So you can also do that in documents, by the way. That's not a specific web page command, but it is one that I like to use frequently. You can also use commands to quickly display lists of important HTML elements. So for example, form fields, I can display a list of form controls on the page using Insert F5. And I'll go ahead and press that and let's see what happens.
No form fields were found. Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
Okay, so there aren't any, so it just told me that none were found. I can press Insert F6 to list the headings on the page, which I'll do now.
Heading list dialog. Headings list view. Jim's Cafe at Innisport: 1 of 8.
And again, we have a list here that we can navigate with arrow keys, and we could enter on a particular item.
Alert. Rachel Shepperly.
Straight to that item.
Alert.
So I'm going to go ahead and press down arrow.
Reputation for quality service: 2. Dishes and appetizers: 2.
And I'm going to enter.
Enter blank.
And it takes me to that heading. Now I'm going to up and down arrow here just to show you that.
List end. Heading level 2, dishes and appetizers.
And there, JAWS read that heading. So that's an example of how headings work. I'm going to press Control Home again.
Jim's Cafe.
One more important keyboard command for listing elements is links. You can list the links on a page with Insert F7.
Links list dialog. Links list view. Reputation for quality service: 1 of 13.
And once again, you could use your arrow keys to navigate here, and you could press enter to activate a particular link. I'm going to escape to get out of this.
Escape.
And return back to the page. Now, when you visit a web page, JAWS immediately begins reading from the top down. It'll tell you things like how many links and headings are on a page, and it will continue reading. So if that happens, or when that happens, you can press Control to stop JAWS from reading. Now, we use what is called the virtual PC cursor to move through HTML pages. This enables JAWS to read, or enables users to read with JAWS and select the text on a page. So you can copy, you can paste it in a document, you can use your arrow keys like you would in a document, and you can navigate to the different elements as well. The virtual PC cursor is not visible to sighted users. However, JAWS does highlight the text as JAWS reads it. You can probably see that there's a focused rectangle that moves along with me when I navigate through a page, or you will see that here in just a minute. And this allows sighted users to follow along. So if you're working with your students, you can follow along visually. And the commands to read in a web page are the same as the commands used in a document. So if you're reading a Word document and you want to use your arrow keys up and down, a line at a time, right and left arrow is a character at a time, control right and left, a word at a time. So the same reading commands that you would use to read a document, you can also use to read a web page. The difference is you just don't have that insertion point, so it uses what we call the virtual PC cursor. All right, let's talk about navigation quick keys. I'm going to give you a few of these. There are many, and you can learn more about that on Surf's Up as well. One way to navigate quickly through information on a page is by pressing the letter P to move through paragraphs. So I'm going to go ahead and press P now.
Heading level 1 graphic: Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
And it took me to this first heading, and I'll press P again.
Jim's Cafe was founded in 1946 by Jim Smith. At that time, Jim was a sergeant in the United States Army.
And it would keep reading if I let it. And I could keep pressing P to navigate through paragraphs, or I could press Shift P.
Heading level 1 graphic: Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
To navigate to the previous paragraph. All right, so now let's talk about links. I'm going to navigate to the top of the page again.
Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
You can move through links by pressing Tab, and if you have someone who is just starting out learning how to navigate the web, I would recommend pressing Tab to navigate through links.
Reputation for quality service: same page link. Dishes and appetizers, same page link. Driving directions, same page link. Links to sites of interest, same page link.
So you can just keep pressing tab and that would navigate you through the page. Now, another quick way, of course, you can press Insert F7 to bring up that list of links like we talked about. And you can also press the letter U to navigate to unvisited links and V to navigate through visited links. So if there are any links that have changed in appearance that represent, that they've been visited, if you press V, then you can navigate through those. Now I'm going to navigate to the top again and show you
Jim's Cafe at Innisport.
another very useful keyboard command that allows you to skip past links on a page to the next block of text that is not a link. So if I were pressing down arrow and I encounter
Heading level 1 graphic, Jim's Cafe at Innisport. Jim's Cafe.
well, let's see, let's do it this way. I'll press the letter U to navigate to the first link here.
Same page link, reputation for quality service.
So let's say I wanted to skip past this and find some text. I didn't want to, now this page doesn't have very many links, but some pages do. So if there were, say, 20 or 30 links in a row here, I wouldn't necessarily want to press down arrow or the letter U to navigate through all of them. So I could press the letter N.
Heading level 2, reputation for quality service.
To skip to that first block of text. And then I could read
Jim's Cafe was an immediate success.
Using my arrow keys or using the P for paragraph like we mentioned before. So there's just another little keyboard command that is useful for students when they want to navigate quickly. Now let's talk about headings. I'm going to go to the top again because that's what I like to do here. Web page authors will use headings to divide a document into sections. So you have level 1 headings, which that's the highest level heading, and it usually indicates a main subject or a topic on the page. And then level 2 is like a subsection of that level 1 heading. And level 3 is a subsection of level 2, and so forth. You can press the letter H to move to and read the headings on the page. Now I'll go ahead and do that now. We've already heard that heading, so let's see what it says.
Jim's Cafe at Innisport, heading level 1 graphic.
Now that indicated that it was a heading level 1. It's the only one on the page. I happen to know that. I didn't, wouldn't know that if I had just navigated to this page. But I can keep pressing the letter H.
Reputation for quality service, heading level 2. Dishes and appetizers, heading level 2. Poultry, heading level 3.
So we have some heading level 2. We have some, level 3 headings here. So JAWS will indicate whether it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, and so forth. And you can press down arrow if you want to read the text that's under a heading.
Try Jim's tender roast duck or have the juicy turkey club sandwich for lunch.
And there we have it. So we could just keep using down arrow to read through the headings and the information under those headings. Now I'm going to keep pressing H because I want to show you what happens when you get to the bottom of the page.
Beef, heading level 3. Seafood, heading level 3. Driving directions, heading level 2. Links to sites of interest, heading level 2. Wrapping to top, Jim's Cafe at Innisport, heading level 1 graphic.
Now you heard the little chime noise and it jumped back to the top of the page and went to the first heading. So that's another good thing about quick navigation keys. When you get to the bottom, it'll jump to the top. Likewise, I could press Shift H.
Wrapping to bottom, links to sites of interest, heading level 2.
And it would navigate back to the bottom where those headings, the last heading on the page. Now, I mentioned this keyboard command earlier. You can also list the headings using the Insert F6 key, which is a good idea if you're just visiting a page for the first time. It's not a bad idea to use that keyboard command to get an idea of how that particular web page is laid out and how many headings, if there are any. It gives you a good idea of the structure of the page. Now let's briefly talk about graphics. Now, most web pages usually have images to enhance their appearance or provide information, or sometimes to assist with navigation. You can press the letter G to move to the first graphic, which is, of course, the heading level 1. And this heading is actually an image, but we don't know that until we press G. So let's press G.
Jim's Cafe at Innisport, heading level 1.
Now, JAWS cannot read the graphic text, so the text you're hearing for this image is what we call alternate or alt text. So web page developers use alt text to describe images. So if an image does not have alt text, you won't have that description. So I'm going to go ahead and press G to move to the next graphic, which, let's see, is a link.
Map to Jim's Cafe. Click the image to see a larger version with more detail. Link graphic.
Yes, so the alternate text here tells you that this is actually a map. And if this wasn't a training page, if there was actually a map here, you could click that image or you could enter on it and it would open up the map. Now I'm going to keep pressing G to navigate through the remaining graphics on the page because I want to show you something down here close to the bottom. So I'm going to press G again.
FS-Site Factory logo graphic. Freedom Scientific logo link graphic.
See, these tell us, they give us an idea of what the graphic is.
Images/image 5 link graphic.
And here we have one that just said images, it said image 5. That doesn't tell us anything. So here on this practice page, that has been included to show what happens when a graphic is not labeled or is not properly labeled. So there are different kinds of graphics, and the information that JAWS is able to read depends on that alt text that has been included. So I'm going to go ahead and press Control Home and talk about one more thing here. So you can navigate through open tabs by pressing Control Tab. And one of the tabs I have open here is a sample form called the web track. Well, it's called a web track form. That's just the name of it. And it's a sample form here for practicing filling out forms. And I'm briefly going to demonstrate just a little bit about how to navigate through form controls on a page, because I feel like that's a very important thing for students to know how to do, especially when they're new to the web and they need to fill out information, because so many things are online today and we can actually fill them out. So I'm going to press Control Tab.
The Web Track Sample Call Tracking System - Google Chrome. The Web Track Sample Call Tracking System.
Okay, so Control Tab will move you through the different tabs that you have open. In this case, I have Jim's Cafe and I have this open as well. I'm going to start by pressing Insert F5 to access the list of form controls on this page. And this will give us an idea of what types of information we'll find, what will be required for us to fill out in this form. So I'm going to press Insert F5.
Select a form field dialog. List 1, list view. First name. This is a required field. Edit 1 of 25.
Okay, so it told us this is 1 of 25 items here on form controls here on this page, and I can navigate through with my arrow keys like all the other lists.
Middle edit. Last name. This is a required field. Edit.
And it tells me if it's a required field. It tells me what kind of control it is. So we have edit boxes. We have
area code edit. Prefix edit. Number edit. Email address star edit.
And the star indicates that it's a required field as well. So that's good information to know.
Mailing address button.
Ah, there's a button. There's a different type of control. So we have lots of different types of form controls. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will hit some highlight. If I wanted to jump to a specific field on the page, I could do so by pressing Enter. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to press Escape.
Escape. The Web Track Sample Call Tracking System.
And I'm at the top. Now, for a beginner user, I would recommend pressing Tab to move through this form. So I'm going to press Tab to move to the first field.
First name. This is a required field. Edit.
So now I am in this field. Now you heard a little pop sound. What happened is a feature called Forms Mode was turned on. Forms Mode exists so that JAWS can detect that you're actually in a field that you want to either enter information into or make a choice. So you hear that little pop sound. If Forms Mode is not on and you try to type in that field and you type a letter, for example, H, to move through headings, it would try to move to headings on the page and use those navigation quick keys we talked about. So when you turn on Forms Mode, now we can type. I'll go ahead and type my first name.
L-I-Z.
And then if I wanted to fill out this form, I could just keep tabbing.
Middle edit. Middle initial. Last name. This is a required field. Edit. Area code edit.
And I could fill out each field accordingly. So you can just, like I said, continue pressing Tab to move through the controls. and fill out the form. Now, as users grow more accustomed to forms and navigating web pages, I'm going to go ahead and escape to exit this. As users grow more accustomed to navigating web pages, you can also use navigation quick keys to quickly navigate to a particular type of form control on a page. So for example, I'm going to go back to the top here. I can navigate through the edit boxes on a page by pressing E.
First name, this is a required field. Edit, Liz.
And it just read me what I typed.
Middle edit, middle initial. Last name, this is a required field. Edit.
I could use the letter C to navigate to a combo box.
Action taken, combo box, hardware issue.
Or X for checkbox.
Phone checkbox not checked.
Or A for radio button.
Wrapping to top, yes, radio button checked.
Or B
1
for
of 2.
button.
Notes history button.
So there are a number of different elements. Now, you can press space or enter to activate a button. You can space on a radio button or checkbox to check or uncheck it. Well, actually, checkbox to check or uncheck it. Radio buttons, usually you can only check one, typically. And then if it's a combo box, you press enter to open that combo box, and you can down arrow to make a selection. So those are just a few keyboard commands you can use when you're filling out forms. So I'm going to press Control F4 to close this tab.
Close document window. Jim's Cafe at Innisport-Google Chrome.
And I won't do this, but I could also press Alt F4 to close the Chrome browser, which would close all the tabs. So that is just, those are just a few ways to navigate web pages. That's kind of just an introductory crash course for you there. I know it threw a lot of information at you, but you will have access to this information online, and you'll be able to go through and practice this.
Now I have unmuted the chat because I know it comes in and kind of overwhelms your jaws as you were teaching.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Can we give a moment and open the chat back up and see if we have any questions, and that means you might want to make your jaws quiet.
Sure.
Okay, I've opened that chat back up to see if there are any questions that people would like to ask during this time. And while those are coming in, I have a question for you. So we are curious, have you used the JAWS program before? So what type of user are you? Are you a power user? Do you use it but only a little? You've seen other people use it, or you've never seen it and never used it up until right now. So what is your use? And if I didn't put one in there and you want to give me an answer in the chat, you are welcome to do that. Elizabeth, while they're doing that, we do have a question that said, how did you turn forms mode on?
That is a great question. So when you navigate a web page, if you press tab to move to that first field, forms mode, focus will move to that field and forms mode will turn on. If you're using the quick navigation keys, and for example, if you're pressing E to navigate through the edit boxes and you want to activate a form control, you want to turn forms mode on to enter that form control, you can press enter. And then you can press escape to exit that.
Okay, a question about a laptop. On a laptop, do we use caps lock instead of insert?
Absolutely. If you have it set for laptop keyboard layout, then the caps lock does become the insert key. That's a great question. Okay. I know a lot of people are using laptops.
Can you repeat one more time how you turn on the box that listed headings, links, or the different form fields?
Sure, absolutely. So insert F3 will list all of the HTML elements on a page. Insert F5 will list the form fields. Insert F6 lists the headings. And insert F7 lists the links.
Okay, I'm going to end our poll and share the results. We have 53%, yes, they've used JAWS, but only a little. 26% had only seen others use it. 14% are power users, and 6% had never used or seen JAWS before. So welcome to those new beginners of JAWS.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have, let's see, I'm seeing a couple more. I found JAWS doesn't work the same on Internet Explorer as Chrome. Besides the quick navigation keys, do you find one browser easier to use or navigate? I think right now let's focus just on the one we're doing. We're having lots of them. And then is there a way to avoid pop-ups on a website or the ads?
You can block pop-ups, but there may be ads that you cannot block. So that's just going to depend on settings. You can go into settings, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, going into settings, but you can try to block them. You can try to block those pop-ups.
And how did you get back home again?
To the top of the page?
That's what I'm thinking.
Control Home. And on a laptop, that might be a little bit different. If you don't have a home key per se, like for example, mine, I press Control and the function key on the laptop, and then my left arrow key.
Okay. And I will let everybody know that the link I gave you to the handout, we realized that the links inside the handout actually take you to something that we have not released. We will get that fixed and out to you. We send a follow-up email after our webinars, and you will have it in there available for you. And then our recording, we are working on getting our video recordings to link over to handouts that are mentioned. So we are working on that. I'm going to turn off the chat for right now, let Elizabeth keep going, and I'll hold on to the questions that I've seen, okay?
All right. Thanks everyone for your great questions. So now we're going to talk about creating and using bookmarks, and I actually have a video for this one, but I want to talk a little bit about that before we start the video. So this video will cover how to create a bookmark, how to access those bookmarks, and how to delete a bookmark. And I just want to remind you there are keyboard commands for accessing them. So if you create a bookmark, you can do that by pressing Control D, which will be in the video as well. You can access your bookmark manager with Control Shift O. And then if you're in the list of bookmarks, there's a way to enter the list, which you'll see in this video, where you can just press the delete key on a particular bookmark to get rid of it. So bookmarks allow you to, store your frequently visited pages, and they're called bookmarks in Chrome. They might be called favorites in other web browsers, but you can access them using keyboard commands. And of course, when you sync Chrome, or when you sign into Chrome, you can sync your bookmarks across all the devices. So they'll be available no matter what device that you're on. So now let's go ahead and watch the video.
Creating and utilizing bookmarks in Google Chrome. You can create bookmarks to pages you frequently visit, so they will be easy to locate when you need them. I will demonstrate how to create a bookmark, how to access the bookmark list, and a simple way of deleting bookmarks. Now, as with other tasks, there are multiple ways of doing this, but I will show you using keyboard commands. I'm here on the Freedom Scientific Webinars page, so let's create a bookmark for that. I'll press Control and the letter D as in Delta.
Control D. Edit bookmark dialog. Bookmark name edit. Free webinars.
Here we're in an edit field where we can type a name for this bookmark. By default, it uses the page title, which in this case is free webinars, but that isn't very specific. So I'm going to navigate to the beginning of the line and type the words Freedom Scientific.
FREEDOM space SCIENTIFIC space.
Now let's read that name using Insert tab.
Bookmark name edit. Freedom Scientific free webinars. Type in text.
Now we know the name is correct. We'll press Enter.
Enter. Main region. Free webinars. Link Freedom Scientific.
We're placed back on the free webinars page, and the bookmark has been created. Now let's access the bookmark list. You can use the keyboard command Control Shift and the letter O as in Oscar.
Control Shift O. Bookmarks Google Chrome. More actions. Bookmarks.
The bookmark list appears as a tabbed page, so you can navigate it just as you would any other web page. I'm going to down arrow here to show you your options.
Blank. Heading Level 1 Bookmarks. Search Bookmarks button.
The Search Bookmarks button allows you to search your bookmarks. For example, if you wanted to display all of the marked pages pertaining to Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Freedom Scientific, and so forth, you could do that using this button.
Organize button menu.
The Organize menu allows you to organize your bookmarks. You can categorize in folders, sort by name. There are a number of options there for making them easier to find.
Bookmark folder tree.
I don't actually have any other folders created, but if I did, they would show up here in the folder tree.
Tree view. Group start bookmark list.
Here we are at the beginning of the list.
Excel 2016, Intro to Formulas.
If I wanted to go to this page, I could press Enter. I won't do that just yet, though.
More actions for Excel 2016, Intro to Formulas button menu.
The More Actions menu pertains to the bookmark you're currently on. It is actually a context menu, but instead of pressing Shift F10 or the Applications key, you'll press Enter.
Enter, menu.
And then you can down arrow through the options.
Edit, 1 of 6.
Edit allows you to edit the name or the web address of your bookmark.
Copy URL, 2 of 6.
The URL is the web address, so if you copy this web address, you could then paste it wherever you like.
Delete, 3 of 6.
You could delete your bookmark here.
Open in new tab, 4 of 6.
Open it in a new tab.
Open in new window, 5 of 6.
Open in a new window.
Open in incognito window, 6 of 6.
Or open in incognito window. We're not going to do any of those things, so I'm going to press Escape to close the menu.
Escape, escape, virtual PC cursor.
Now I'm back in the bookmark list, and sometimes you have to press Escape twice. Now let's navigate to an actual bookmarked page. I'll down arrow until I find the Google home page.
More action, how to, more act, formula, more act, how to, more act, Google home page. Enter, Google home page read only.
I have to press Enter again.
Enter, Untitled Google Chrome. Escape, Google.
And here I am on the Google home page. I'll press Control-Tab to move back to the bookmark list since it's a separate tab page.
Main region, Freedom Site, Bookmarks Google Chrome. Escape.
And now here I am back on that page. Lastly, I want to show you a simple way of deleting bookmarks. You can do it from the menu, but there's actually a quicker way. Let's navigate to the top of the Bookmarks page.
Bookmarks.
By pressing Control Home. And now I am going to down arrow till I get to the start of the bookmark list.
Blank head org book tree group Excel to group start bookmark list.
If I press the Tab key, it will activate Forms mode and display my bookmarks in a list.
Excel 2016, Intro to Formulas read only, 1 of 6.
I'm going to down arrow to the bookmark we just created for the Freedom Scientific Webinars page.
How to summon, formula, how to, Google, Freedom Scientific free webinars read only, 6 of 6.
All I have to do is press Delete.
Google homepage read only, 5 of 5. 5 items in bookmark list.
Now a minute ago it said 6 of 6. Now it said 5 of 5, so we know it deleted the bookmark. I'll press Escape to exit this list.
Escape.
And Control F4 to close the bookmark list window without closing the entire Chrome window.
Close document window, main region, free webinars.
And I'm back on the free webinars page. So those are just a few tasks for creating and utilizing bookmarks. All right. So once again, you can create a bookmark, just to recap some of these keyboard commands, because I'm throwing a lot of them at you. You can create a bookmark with Control D. You can access the bookmark manager with Control Shift O. And you can delete a bookmark by just pressing delete when you're in the list of bookmarks.
So before we move on to the next subject area,
Sure.
Maybe we could take some questions. And Leanne, if we wanted to put another poll out for folks to respond to.
I'll do that. I will do the poll about browsing and teaching. In your opinion, where does learning to browse the web fall for instruction with screen readers? Is it based on their current computer knowledge? Is it based on the age of the student? Is it based on the district, school, or class decision for browsing? In other words, you weren't the one that made the decision, or other. And if you have other, then please put your other in the chat. What is your reason for where it falls? So we did have a question. Can you explain if or when we should turn on or off the virtual cursor, and is this for all browsers?
Okay, I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Sure, yes.
Sure.
Can you explain if, when we should turn on or off the virtual cursor? And is
Sure.
that available for all browsers?
Yes, the virtual PC cursor is available in web browsers. It's also available in email clients like Outlook when you're reading an email, and also in PDF documents. So wherever the insertion point is not, well, in several places where the insertion point is not present, but where you need to navigate text. So by default, the virtual PC cursor will be turned on. You can toggle it off and on using the keyboard command insert and the letter Z. Usually you want to keep it on because you need it to navigate through web pages. The only times when you may want to turn it off are when you're using certain applications, for example, Google Docs. Sometimes it'll turn off by default, it should, but if it doesn't, then you just toggle it off with insert Z. So in certain applications like Google Docs and in Google Sheets and some of those applications where you really need to navigate in a document and you're going to have an insertion point, you're going to be manipulating information in that document, then you wouldn't necessarily need to use it. But yes, so, or you wouldn't want to use it actually. But when you're on a web page, yes, it should be on by default.
Okay. What is an incognito window?
You know, I don't completely understand those myself.
It's supposed to not be sharing as much data, or so
yeah,
we think.
that's what I think, but I don't know exactly what data it shares and doesn't, because Google has a lot of, or Chrome has a lot of options. You can sign in as a guest, you can not sign in. So yeah, I do believe a lot of information would be hidden, maybe.
Okay. In your opinion, what would you say is the best way to become proficient in JAWS if you are a person who would not be using it day to day, such as a teacher that has sight?
That is a great question. I would say if you've not used JAWS and you want to learn the basics, that using the basic training that comes with JAWS that's available, that you either have when you install JAWS, or that you can download from our training pages. And then when it comes to browsing the web, because that is oftentimes a completely different thing altogether just because of how it works, the surfs up pages, which I'll talk more about here in just a few minutes, I would say are some great places to start learning how to navigate the web with JAWS.
Okay. And then I'm guessing another would be to shut off the screen and actually exercise your listening skills.
Absolutely.
Make it so you can't see it.
Absolutely. I think everything, when you're learning to use a screen reader, period, it is one of those things that you start JAWS and you want to listen to, get used to hearing it read. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, so what was the opinion of learning to browse for your screen readers? 58% said it was based on their computer knowledge, 19% based on the district's school class decision for browsing, 15% based on the age, and then 8% other. Some people were saying it was kind of a mix of those choices, or all of those choices kind of weighed in to that information. Okay, you guys are ready to move on.
Okay, let's talk about viewing and searching Chrome history. We're not going to delve too deeply into this, but your Chrome history shows the web pages that you visited in the last 90 days. It doesn't store the Chrome pages that you visited, for example, the settings pages. It doesn't store that in the history. But you can access the history by pressing Control H, and it will display in a separate tabbed page. And then you can Control F4 to get out of it, just like we did the bookmarks. So now let's watch the video.
Viewing and searching your Chrome history with JAWS. Signing into Google Chrome gives you access to your saved passwords, your bookmarks, and your browsing history. No matter which device you're signed in with or where you are, you can access your Google Chrome history if your information is synced. In this demo, we'll take a look at my Chrome history and search through it to find a specific item. Open a new tab in Google Chrome that shows your browsing history. You'll use the command Control-H, as in hotel. That command is Control-H, hotel. With Chrome in focus, we'll give it a try.
//history.
And as you just heard, JAWS jumps me straight into a search edit box. But before we search, let's explore a bit. Your Google Chrome browsing history will appear in its own tab.
Link Chrome history. Link tabs from other devices. Link clear browsing data.
You heard there that there are a few links available. Google Chrome history, which is what's in focus by default. Tabs from other devices, which is exactly what it sounds like. It'll show you your open browsing history tabs from other devices. And then clear browsing data, which, if activated, will present you with a dialog asking you to confirm your intentions.
Heading level 2 today-Wednesday, September 18th, 2019.
And as I continue to down arrow, I encounter the very beginning of my list of browsing history. Now, I mentioned using quick nav keys to move around this tab quickly earlier. For example, each entry in this list is preceded by a checkbox. So to quickly jump to the top of the history list, I can do Control Home, put my focus at the top of the page.
History.
And then press X to jump through the checkboxes.
9:32 a.m. checkbox not checked.
If you want to hear more about any single entry once you've earned the timestamp, go ahead and press down arrow.
9:32 a.m. Visited link training.
Down arrow once and you'll hear the title of that page. Down arrow again.
Support.freedomscientific.com.
And you'll hear the address.
Remove bookmark button. Actions button menu.
You heard two buttons announced there. That remove bookmark button only shows up if you have that page marked as a bookmark. You can press spacebar to activate the actions menu.
Space, menu, actions menu, actions menu, actions.
I'll press escape to get out of here. Now I can use the quick nav key E echo to jump to the search edit field.
Wrapping to top, search history edit.
I'll press spacebar since I didn't hear forms mode come on.
Space, search history edit.
And I'll type in surfs up, as I'd like to find the link for that in my history.
SURF space UP. Found 0 search results for SurfSU. Found 1 search result for SurfSub. In level 2 found 1 search result for SurfSub. September 18th, 2019 checkbox not checked. Visited link SurfSub. Surfing the internet with JAWS.
And as you may have observed already, each entry in the history is a link. So if I'd like to navigate back to this page in my history that we just searched for, I just need to press enter or spacebar to activate it.
Enter history-Google Chrome. SurfSub. Surfing the internet with JAWS-Google Chrome-.
And that is how to view and search your Google Chrome browsing history with JAWS.
What's nice is those of us who don't use JAWS might have learned something too.
All right, Elizabeth, we move on to access the Chrome toolbars and settings. Before we move into the next phase of this, and again, we have about 8 minutes to go. Did we want to take any questions from the group, Leanne, or do we want to move forward with this last piece and save the questions for the end?
Let's move forward. I'll hold on to those and we'll catch them at the end.
All right, so we're talking about accessing the Chrome toolbar and settings.
Yeah. I'm going to try to share again here, but
all right,
here we
so
go.
I'm going to hit stop share.
And I have muted the chat to make sure nothing comes in.
Stop share
All
button.
right.
Start Zoom. My person meeting starts Jim's Cafe.
Are we sharing? Can you guys see it? Hear it?
Jim's Cafe.
All right, good deal. Okay, so we're going to use the Chrome toolbar to access various tasks, and I'm just going to briefly show you how to do this. You can press Alt, Shift, and the letter T to access the Chrome toolbar, and then you can tab through the items on that bar. Now, it's going to be different on every computer. just simply because what you have on your Chrome toolbar, somebody else may have something different. And so it will depend on the extensions you have and the items that you have in your settings and how it's set up. So I'm going to go ahead and press this keyboard command.
Alt-Shift-T.
Oh boy.
Escape. Jim's Cafe.
And it's not working
Jim's
for me
Cafe.
here.
Alt-Shift-T.
Okay. Well,
That's actually going to us with our
Escape.
page.
Jim's Cafe.
oh,
Jim's Cafe
okay.
heading.
I'm not really sure what happened there. Okay. Well, if it did work, you can press Alt-Shift-T and access the toolbar, and then you can tab through there to see what items you have. For example, you might have reload to refresh the page. You might be able to bookmark a page. You might have the address and search bar, and you can also access the address bar with Control L, by the way. And so you'll have a lot of different items there, the back button and so forth. And you can access that, and then you can escape to go back to your web page. You can also customize your browsing experience in the Chrome settings. So I'm going to go ahead and press Alt and the letter E to access the Chrome button, followed by S Sierra, the letter S to access settings. Alt E.
Alt E context menu. New tab Control plus T. 1 of 19. T.
S. The letter S.
S. Leaving menus. Untitled dash Google Chrome.
Okay, good. This one worked. So
Escape.
settings will open just like the bookmarks in its own tabbed page, and you can navigate it like you would any other web page. And I'm going to go to the top
Settings.
and just demonstrate this for a second. I'm going to press the letter H so we can move to a particular setting.
Settings heading level 1. New and Google heading level 2. Autofill heading level 2. Privacy and security heading level 2. Appearance heading level 2. Search engine heading level 2. Default browser heading level 2.
Okay, so now if I want to see what my default browser is, I can down arrow here.
Google Chrome is your default browser.
Okay, and it told me that it is my default browser. If it wasn't, I would have an option to change that. So you can exit settings. It will save your settings. You don't have to save. You can exit, close that tab with
Close document window.
Control F4.
Zoom.
All right, I want to talk for just a second about Surf's Up. I'm going to stop
Alt S.
sharing. Okay, I want to talk here about our Surf's Up. Am I still sharing? Oh.
Jim's meeting control.
And now we're sharing here,
Okay.
so we've got the Surf's Up slide up there for you,
All right.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. Surf's Up is a self-guided lesson for navigating the web with JAWS. The Surf's Up training pages have been recently updated, so you can use this tool with your students to teach them how to navigate web pages. The web address, and this is a lengthy address, but it's freedomscientific.com/surfsup, SURFS-up_start_here.htm. You
We
can
might
also
be able to just do a Google search for Surf's Up with JAWS.
you can. Yeah, that's a long address, but just in case you want to bookmark it when you get there. You can also find a recorded webinar on teaching web navigation with Surf's Up on our webinars on demand page. Now, all this information, to include our YouTube training channel where you'll find videos taken from our webinars as well on some of these tasks, you can actually get to all of these resources on our training page. And that can be found at freedomscientific.com/training, which is a whole lot easier to remember.
Very good. All right, and I want to take this opportunity to throw myself squarely under the bus. For those of you who are not able to access all of the wonderful resources that Elizabeth provided ahead of time, it would be because last night I designated them for access to people with aph.org email addresses exclusively. And so as I was checking them diligently and getting there, they were working fine for me, but unfortunately, they're not working fine for you. So I apologize. When this wraps up, I will work on that. There are about 7 or 8 handouts that Elizabeth provided that will get to you. So do we want to take some time now to answer some questions? I mean, we have about 3 minutes left, or do we want to do that closing code and then maybe take some questions sort of offline? What do you think the best way to go would be?
I'm gonna honor people's time. So let me pause the recording and give that closing code really fast. Now. Okay, so one of our questions is, what do I press again to get to that search box?
Are you referring to the address bar and search box in Chrome, or?
I'm pretty sure that was what it was about.
Okay, Control L will jump you directly there.
Okay, do JAWS and Firefox play nice?
Yes.
Okay. We have had a webinar on how to use JAWS with the Zoom. We do have it recorded, and so that's available on our YouTube page. You have lots of thank yous. Let me see if I can find any others in there that were actual questions. We did have one about a person who is needing to create a fillable form, and they were wondering if there are any videos or trainings on how to create a form that will be accessible with JAWS. I know our Accessibilities Hub has some assistance. Do you know of any other assistance, Elizabeth?
We have some resources. If you have some specific questions, you can email those to training@vispero.com.
And I am going to read this one for you, Liz. Excellent job. You make your teachers proud. High five from Ms. Reslef. Have to include that.
So we have the slide up with the freedomscientific.com/training email or website, and then the training@vispero.com email address for you as well.
Okay.
We also will be bringing Elizabeth back here in just a few weeks to talk about using JAWS with Google Docs. So this would be the third, and we hope to continue to have Vispero back and Elizabeth as we move through the summer and into the fall to continue to bring some of these topics to you.
I'm looking forward to it.
I've got a question for you, Elizabeth. If a school is an all one-on-one device type school district and they're exclusively using online Google platforms, how would you decide where to start your training? So this is a opinion question. Would you start with Google Apps or the internet?
I would probably start with Google Chrome since the apps are internet based.
Okay.
Yep, that would be sort of the foundation, right? The foundation would be understanding how to move around the browser so that as you got into the applications, like say like a Google Classroom or whatnot, you've got your foundation of how to move around the HTML or the web page to then move into specifically the controls and or items within an application.
Okay, I'm trying to see if there's any others. Any luck with JAWS on Canvas?
Yes, and if you have specific questions about that, I know we've worked with it some in the past. I've watched it, helped a few people with it in the past, and so I know it does work. So if you have any questions about that, like I said, just send them to training@vispero.com, and we can help you find resources and information.
Okay. Well, there you go. Well, we want to say thank you all for joining us. One final thought. We do have our virtual Excel camp coming up starting mid-June through mid-August. Each camp is around specific age/grade levels. You are welcome to be an observer there. You are welcome to forward those links and information to your students and parents for registration. So that is something that you are welcome to do, and I'll put that link in the chat as well, so that if you would like to do that, you are welcome to. Another thank you, Elizabeth. Beginning JAWS user, haven't used it in a long time and feeling nervous, so you have helped quell some nerves.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us today, and thank you APH once again, you guys, for having me. And if you know anyone who can use this information, or if you'd like some additional details, definitely visit our training page. You'll find our webinars page, our previous webinars, upcoming webinars, our YouTube training channel, just a wealth of information that we constantly update there. So be sure to keep checking back for new content. And questions or feedback, send us that email to training@vispero.com. That's V as in Victor, I, S as in Sierra, P-E-R-O, vispero.com.